Hello everyone, welcome back to Rex Flippers. Today is 9/21/2023, and today we will be discussing James Madison, 4th President of the United States. But before we get started, I'd like to remind everybody to please subscribe to my channel. As of last night, I have 52 subscribers, and I'm trying to reach 500 by the end of the year. And I also have other videos coming up. We'll be covering the Constitution of the United States, and that video is going to be a live broadcast on the Constitution. We'll be going over the articles of the Constitution and the amendments of the Constitution, and I'll be entertaining questions, comments, negative or positive, on the Constitution. I hope you have good discussion on the Constitution of the United States. As you know, there's a lot of battle going on these days about the Constitution, and if you saw my videos earlier from the farewell address for George Washington, in his address he touched on a lot of things about the Constitution and about the government of the United States that is going on today, things that he was warning about, and they are happening today. And that's one of the reasons why I want to go over the Constitution and have discussion on it. But today we're going to be discussing James Madison. He was our president from 4th president from 1809 to 1870. So James Madison was the founding father of the United States and the 4th American president, serving in office from 1809 to 1817. An advocate for a strong federal government, the Virginia-born Madison composed the first drafts of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and earned the nickname Father of the Constitution. In 1792, Madison and Thomas Jefferson founded the Democratic-Republican Party, which has been called America's first opposition political party. When Jefferson became the 3rd U.S. president, Madison served as his Secretary of State. In this role, he oversaw the Louisiana Purchase from the French in 1803. During his presidency, Madison led the U.S. into the controversial War of 1812, which lasted from 1812 to 1815 against Great Britain. After 2 terms in the White House, Madison retired to his Virginia plantation, Montpelier, with his wife Dolly. In his early years, James Madison was born on March 16, 1751, in Port Conway, Virginia, to James Madison Sr. and Nellie Conway Madison. He was the oldest of 12 children. Madison was raised on the family plantation, Montpelier, in Orange County, Virginia. At age 18, Madison left Montpelier to attend the College of New Jersey, now called Princeton University. Did you know Montpelier, James Madison's Virginia plantation home, was established by his grandfather in 1723. An estimated 100 enslaved people lived at Montpelier when Madison owned it. The property was sold after his death. Today, the estate, which covers some 2,600 acres, is open to the public. After graduation, Madison took an interest in the relationship between the American colonies and Britain, which had grown tumultuously over the issues of British taxation. When Virginia began preparing for the American Revolutionary War, Madison was appointed a colonel in the Orange County militia. Small in stature and sickly, he soon gave up a military career for political. In 1776, he represented Orange County at the Virginia Constitution Convention to organize a new state government, no longer under British rule. During his work in the Virginia legislature, Madison met lifelong friend Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence and the third president of the United States. As a politician, Madison often fought for religious freedom, believing it was an individual's right from birth. In 1780, Madison became a Virginia delegate to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia. He left Congress in 1783 to return to the Virginia Assembly and work on a religious freedom statute, though he would soon be called back to Congress to help create a new constitution. After the colonies declared independence from Britain in 1776, the Articles of Confederation were created as the first Constitution of the United States. The Articles were ratified in 1781 and gave most of the power to the individual state legislatures, who acted more like individual countries than a union. This structure left the National Congress weak, with no ability to properly manage federal debt or maintain a national army. Madison, after undertaking extensive study of other world governments, came to the conclusion that America needs a strong federal government in order to help regulate the state legislature and create a better system for raising federal money. He felt the government should be set up with a system of checks and balances, so no branch had greater power over the other. Madison also suggested that the governors and judges have enhanced roles in the government in order to help manage the state legislature. In May of 1787, delegates from each state came together at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, and Madison was able to present his ideas for an effective government system in his Virginia plan, which detailed a government with three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. This plan would form the basis of the U.S. Constitution. Madison took detailed notes during debates at the convention, which helped to further shape the U.S. Constitution and led to his moniker, Father of the Constitution. Madison stated the Constitution was not the offspring of a single brain, but instead the work of many heads and many hands. Once the new Constitution was written, it needed to be ratified by 9 of the 13 states. This was not an easy process, as many states felt the Constitution gave the federal government too much power. Supporters of the Constitution were known as Federalists, while critics were called Anti-Federalists. Madison played a strong role in the ratification process and wrote a number of essays outlining his support for the Constitution. His writings, along with those penned by other advocates, were released anonymously under the title The Federalist, a series of 85 essays produced between 1787 and 1788. After extensive debate, the U.S. Constitution was signed by members of the Constitutional Convention in September of 1787. The document was ratified by the states in 1788, and the new government became functional the following year. Madison was elected to the newly formed U.S. House of Representatives, where he served from 1789 to 1797. In Congress, he worked to draft the Bill of Rights, a group of 10 amendments to the Constitution that spelled out fundamental rights, such as freedom of speech and religion, held by the U.S. citizens. The Bill of Rights was ratified by the states in 1791. In the new, more powerful Congress, Madison and Jefferson soon found themselves disagreeing with the Federalists on key issues dealing with the federal debt and power. For example, the two men favored states' rights and opposed Federalist leader Alexander Hamilton's proposal for a national bank, the Bank of the United States. In 1792, Jefferson and Madison founded the Democratic-Republican Party, which has been labeled America's first opposition political party. Jefferson, Madison, and James Monroe were the only Democratic Republicans ever to become U.S. president, as the party divided into competing factions in the 1820s. Madison also had a new development in his personal life. In 1794, after a brief courtship, the 43-year-old Madison married 26-year-old Dolly Payne Todd, an outgoing Quaker widow with one son. Dolly's personality contrasted sharply with that of the quiet, reserved Madison. She loved entertaining and hosted many receptions and dinner parties during which Madison could meet other influential figures of his time. During the couple's 41-year marriage, Dolly Madison and James Madison were reported rarely apart. James Madison, Secretary of State, 1801 to 1809. Through the years, Madison's friendship with Jefferson would continue to thrive. When Jefferson became the third president of the United States, he appointed Madison as Secretary of State. In this position, which he held from 1801 to 1809, Madison helped acquire the Louisiana Territory from the French in 1803. The Louisiana Purchase doubled the size of America. In 1807, Madison and Jefferson enacted an embargo on all trade with Britain and France. The two European countries were at war and angered by America's neutrality. They had begun attacking U.S. ships at sea. However, the embargo hurt America and its merchants and sailors more than Europe, which did not need the American goods. Jefferson ended the embargo in 1809 as he left office. In the presidential election of 1808, Madison defeated Federalist candidate Charles Cotesworth Pinckney to become the nation's fourth chief executive. Madison continued to face problems from overseas as Britain and France had continued their attacks on American ships following the embargo. In addition to impeding U.S. trade, Britain took U.S. sailors from its own navy and began supporting American Indians in battles against U.S. settlers. In retaliation, Madison issued a war proclamation against Britain in 1812. However, America was not ready for a war. Congress had not properly funded or prepared an army, and a number of the states did not support what was referred to as Mr. Madison's War, and would not allow their militias to join the campaign. Despite these setbacks, American forces attempted to fight off and attack British forces. The U.S. met defeat much of the time both on land and sea, but its well-built ships proved to be formidable foes. As the War of 1812 continued, Madison ran for re-election against Federalist candidate DeWitt Clinton, who was also supported by anti-war faction of the Democratic Republican Party, and won. Despite the victory, Madison was often criticized and blamed for difficulties stemming from the war. Trade stopped between the U.S. and Europe, hurting American merchants once again. New England threatened secession from the Union. The Federalists undermined Madison's efforts, and Madison was forced to flee Washington, D.C. in August of 1814 as British troops invaded and burned buildings, including the White House, the Capitol, and the Library of Congress. Finally, weary from battle, Britain and the U.S. agreed to negotiate an end to the war. The Treaty of Ghent was signed in December of 1814 in Europe. Before word of the peace agreement reached America, a major victory for U.S. troops at the Battle of New Orleans helped shine a positive light on the controversial war. Though the war was mismanaged, there were some key victories that emboldened the Americans. Once blamed for the errors in the war, Madison was eventually hailed for its triumphs. In his final years, after 2 years in office, Madison left Washington, D.C. in 1817 and returned to Montpelier with his wife. Despite the challenges he encountered during his presidency, Madison was respected as a great thinker, communicator, and statesman. He remained active in various civic causes and in 1826 became rector of the University of Virginia, which was founded by his friend Thomas Jefferson. Madison died at Montpelier on June 28, 1836, at the age of 85 from heart failure. So that's what I have on James Madison, our fourth president, and I hope I've taught some people a little bit more than what they already knew on the subject of James Madison. And again, I'm going to go back to asking you to please subscribe to my channel. Like I mentioned earlier, I've only got 52 subscribers right now. I'm trying to reach 500. And the next segment coming up is going to be the Constitution of the United States. And I will be doing that probably at night. I'm looking at Thursday nights, and that way I can have more input and have people come in. It's going to be live on the Constitution. It's going to be broken up into several parts. Going to go over all the articles one by one, and then we'll go over the amendments or the Bill of Rights. So please subscribe to my channel and have a good day. And God bless America.